We're now going to look at an example which combines sampling with histograms. In these questions, you will have to identify what group within the population you're working with. You will then write down the sampling formula for that group, but you will have to use the histogram to work out the population size of that group and also to work out the overall population size. So if we take a look at this particular example, it says the histogram below shows the lengths of mobile phone calls in minutes to a company. Now, I'm not going to do part A, I'm going to do that later. I'm going to jump straight to part B. So part B simply says, a stratified sample of 25 is to be taken from all the calls which are shorter than 30 minutes. Estimate how many calls greater than 12 minutes will be chosen for the sample. Now, very difficult question. The first thing you have to do is identify what is the overall population size that we're working with. It says the sample is to be taken from all calls which are less than 30 minutes. So what I'm going to do is go to the histogram. There's where 30 minutes is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a big square box around all the individual rectangles that go up to 30 minutes. So I'm just going to box it off, something like the following. Like that. So everything within this big red box here is what we're taking our sample from. So in other words, everything inside this red box is the overall population size that we're working with. We're not working with all the boxes in the histogram. We're only considering the overall population to be all the times which are less than 30 minutes, or all the phone calls which are less than 30 minutes. So everything within that red box is the overall population size. So identify the overall population where it is first. Okay. Now, it then goes on to say, estimate how many calls greater than 12 minutes will be chosen for the sample. So the group that we're going to be working with is all the calls that are greater than 12 minutes. So let's start off part B. So we've identified the group we're working with. It is calls greater than 12 minutes. So we're going to write down the sampling formula for this group. So SSG, sample size of the group, divided by overall sample size, and that's equal to population size of that group divided by overall population size. Now, let's see what we know already and what we're asked for. It says, how many calls are greater than 12 minutes in the sample? So we are looking for the sample size of this group. So we're looking for SSG. That's what we want. How many calls in the sample are greater than 12 minutes? So we want the sample size of the greater than 12 minutes group. So that's what we're looking for. SS is the overall sample size. Well, it says a stratified sample size of 25 is to be taken. So the overall sample size is 25. Now, this is where it gets tricky. We don't know the actual population size for all the calls that are greater than 12 minutes. So we're going to have to get the actual population size of that group from the histogram. We also don't know the overall population size that we're investigating. Remember, it's everything within inside this red box. So we're going to have to get that from our histogram as well. So let's go to the population size for the group greater than 12 minutes. So we're looking for all the rectangular bars, all the areas that go from 12 minutes right up to 30. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to draw the little bars out starting with 12. So that's going to be 12 there. Every one little square horizontally is worth 1 minute. So that's 12 minutes there. That's where this big bar starts at 12, and we're going right up to 30. So there's two bars that we're looking at. We're looking at this bar and we're looking at this little bar as far as the red line. So I'm going to draw those bars out again. Just a quick sketch of them. Now, okay, so calls greater than 12 minutes. So we're looking at the bar that starts at 12. So that's this bar here, and it goes up to 20. And the height of that bar, now we need to be careful here, that is halfway between 1 and 2, so that's going to be 1.5 high. So it's 1.5 high and it's 8 wide. So I'm going to work out the area of that bar, and that will tell us how many calls there were from 12 minutes up to 20 minutes. So multiply 8 by 1.5, and that's going to give us 12. What I'm now going to do is then go to this bar that starts at 20 and go right up to 30. So I've drawn that little bar out, so that goes from 20 to 30. And it's also 1.5 high. And it's 10 wide. So again, we're going to work out its area, because then the area tells us how many calls there were between 20 and 30 minutes. So 10 multiplied by 1.5 is going to give us 15. What I'm now going to do is add those two together. So we've got 12 plus 15 is going to give us 27. Now, we have just worked out from the histogram the actual population size for the group, which is calls greater than 12 minutes. It's these two bars combined, so getting their two areas, adding them together. So that is the number of calls greater than 12 minutes right up to 30 minutes. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use the histogram to get the actual population size of all of the calls up to 30 minutes. Okay, because remember, that was what we're investigating. We're investigating all the calls which are shorter than 30 minutes. So everything within this red box is the overall population size. So I am now going to work out all the areas of the bars that are inside this big red box. So we've got 1, 2, 3, we've got 4 areas. Now, okay, so we need to get the area of this thin bar here first of all. So this thin bar runs from 0 right up to 3. Okay, going from 0 to 3. So that's our first bar, 0 to 3. And then it is 2 high. So we know that it's 2 high and it's 3 wide. So multiply those together to get the area of the rectangle. That's going to give you 6. So in other words, there are 6 calls between 0 and 3 minutes. Let's do the same for the second bar. So if we take a look at our second bar, it's running from 3 to 12 and it's 1 high. So 3 to 12 and 1 high. So 3 to 12 is 9 wide and 1 high, so multiply those to get the area. That's going to give us an area of 9. So in other words, there were 9 calls between 3 and 12 minutes. Let's now get the area of the third bar. So go back to the original histogram here. There's our third bar. It runs from 12 to 20 and it's 1.5 high. So it's obviously the same as what we had up here. So third bar goes from 12 to 20. It's 1.5 high. So it's 8 wide. It's 1.5 high. We multiply those together and that's going to give us 12. And then the final bar, remember, it's just the bar that starts at 20 but only goes as far as 30. So it's 10 wide and it's going to be 1.5 high. So 10 multiplied by 1.5 is going to give us 15. And that's the area of the final bar. In other words, the number of calls there actually were between 20 and 30 minutes. So when we add all these numbers together, we're going to get the overall population size for all the calls that were less than 30 minutes. So let's add them together. We've got 6 plus 9 plus 12 plus 15. And that's going to give us 42. So, going back now to the group that we're working with. We're working with the group calls greater than 12 minutes. We want to work out how many calls greater than 12 minutes need to be selected for the sample. So we need the sample size of this group. We know that we're taking an overall sample of 25 and the sample is based on the population of calls that are less than 30 minutes. So we use the histogram to work out the actual number of calls less than 30 minutes. And then we've also used the histogram to work out the population size for the group of calls that are more than 12 minutes. So we're looking at all the areas from 12 right up to 30. So it's these two bars, their areas added together is 27. So the hard work is done. We're now going to sub all the values in. So we've now got SSG over 25, and that's equal to 27 over 42. Easy maths, cross multiply. So we're going to get 42 SSG, and then we can go to our calculator. 27 multiplied by 25 is going to give us 675. And then we're going to divide both sides by the coefficient of SSG. .42's cancel on the left, so we're going to be left with SSG, and then go back to calculator. 675 divided by 42, and that's going to give you about 16.0714. Okay, and don't be afraid if it doesn't work out exactly. People think, oh, it didn't get it to be a whole number, it must be wrong. No, you're not. So what we can do then is we can approximate it to the nearest whole number. So approximately there are 16 calls that we need to select from the group which is calls which are more than 12 minutes. So that's the number we select from that group, 16. So answer, approximately 16 calls greater than 12 minutes must be chosen. For the sample. Okay, so in summary, great little question. You're using the sampling formula in tandem with histograms. The key bit is you need to first of all identify what the population is that you're basing your sample on. So that's given in the question. It says a sample of 25 is to be taken from all the calls which are shorter than 30 minutes. So I immediately go to my histogram, put a big box around all the bars right up to 30. So everything within this red box is the overall population size. Okay, the overall population size you're working with. Then you have to identify the group within that population that you're working with. So it says estimate how many calls greater than 12 minutes that will be chosen for the sample. So the group you're working with is the group of calls that are more than 12 minutes. So you're talking about 12 minutes right up to 30 minutes. That's the group we're talking about. So put the title down for your group, write out the sampling formula, identify what you want. You want the number of calls that you need to select from that group for the sample. You know the sample size, but the problem is you don't know the population size of that group and you don't know the overall population size. So those are taken or found from the histogram by calculating the areas of the bars. Sub everything in, get your answer. If it's not a whole number, don't worry, round it to the nearest whole number in this case, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, the last bit then, part A, it says explain what a stratified sample is. So part A then. A stratified sample is when we choose a specific sample size from each group of a population such that the sample size of the group divided by the sample size and that's equal to the population size of the group and that's divided by the overall population size. And again, make sure you learn that definition. That could be asked in an exam or indeed in a test.